I gotta be real honest with y'all. I always have a hard time starting out with that video because CNN's job when they made it was to make me look as perfect as possible. They had a lady with a makeup kit that would follow me around and powder my nose every few seconds, and then somebody that would like fix my beard to make sure there wasn't any stragglers or anything like that. And the problem with that is that's not who I am at all. I'm one of the more imperfect, average, maybe even below average people that you'll ever meet in your entire life. And it was hard for me growing up with that type of mentality. I actually had a really difficult time as a kid because everybody in my family, it seemed to me, were exceptional in some way, shape, or form. And just to give you an idea, I think I come from a little bit of an extreme case. So I loved sports growing up. My family's real athletic, but I never measured up to anyone, my brothers, my cousins, my granddaddy. And to give you an idea, my granddaddy played professional football for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I tried to play football, but I was never, even close to that good at all. And basketball, I love playing basketball, but I wasn't anything like my younger brother by 4.5 years. He's 6'9", okay? So can you imagine when I'm 19 years old and trying to play ball and I get dunked on by my 15-year-old brother? It's not really good for your ego. And I played golf as well. I enjoyed that, but I was never like my cousin who I grew up with. His name's Lucas Glover. He's on the PGA Tour right now. He won the US Open a few years ago. Yeah, so it was hard for me. It was difficult to try to be an athlete because I was never great. Never liked them. In fact, I rarely got off the bench. And then if you even take academics, I was a C minus, maybe a few D's here and there type student. I learned later on in life that I don't do so well in classroom setting. I have to get my hands dirty. I got to see it. I got to figure out, what makes it tick to learn. So it was tough for me in school, but it was harder to see my sister, who she was top of the class. She was like the salutatorian or the valedictorian or one of the really smart people. When they walk down the stage at graduation, her robe looks completely different than everybody else. She's got all these things hanging down her neck and these different colored tassel. And I just was lucky to get to walk down the stage. And so for me, it was difficult. Everything I tried to do, I always felt like I never measured up. So what happened? What changed? Why am I up here today? I don't really know. I don't really have a great answer to that, but I know exactly when it happened. This was December of 2003. I was trying to struggle my way through a university degree at North Carolina State University in Raleigh. I decided to be a communications major. I had one semester left in communications, and to be honest, even though I had one semester left, I still had no idea what a communications major did when they got out of school. No clue. In fact, I think I might have taken the major for all the wrong reasons, because when I sat down with my academic advisor after a couple of years, she's like, "Doc, you can't just take classes in randomness and expect to major in everything or randomness. You have to pick something." And I'm like, "Okay, well, show me what you got." So she laid them out, and she mistakenly showed me the gender breakdown of each major. And there was 80% women in communications. And I'm like, I don't know what that is, but that's exactly what I want to be studying right there. And so I'm taking this major, of course, for all the right or wrong reasons, however you want to look at it. And I'm also bartending my way through school and playing some music out at different nightclubs and bars around Raleigh. And I actually really loved that job. I loved that scene. And it was not because of the late nights and the partying and all that stuff. I actually really loved it. 5 o'clock happy hour would come. I'd have all my regulars, and you'd have a guy with a white collar who's a CEO of some company sitting next to a construction worker, next to a school teacher, next to a stay-at-home mom, next to somebody that's just lost their job. And everybody's on the same playing field. Nobody's looking up or down at anybody else. Everybody's there just to kind of forget about their day, to talk about sports or politics or whatever, and just there's none of this up and down stuff. So to me, it was really about the people, why I loved being a bartender. It was the relationships that brought me back every day with a smile on my face, and when I actually couldn't wait to get to my job. But I also got to the point at that same time where I had a great friend of mine, her name's Tasha Sullivan, and she sat me down one night. I'd just gotten done playing a gig at this club, and y'all, I'm not even a great musician. I'm not any American Idol. I'll never win anything like that. I sing stuff like Johnny Cash. You know, I could be like, I hear the train a-coming, it's rolling around the bend. You know, you don't have to have an amazing voice to do that. In fact, I could wake up with a cold that morning and sound better, sound more like Johnny Cash. So I'm getting done with the gig. I'm sitting at the bar, and she looked over at me, and she's like, is this it? Is this all you're going to do with your life? You're going to bartend, you know, maybe finish your degree, and that's it? And I said, well, I don't know. I hadn't really thought much about it. I don't, yeah, sure. She's like, you're better than that. If you sell yourself short and this is all you do for the rest of your life, I might be your best friend, but I'm going to be pretty pissed at you. And it was the first time actually that somebody had been very honest with me, somebody that I trusted, but that did it in an encouraging way and said, you can do better. Because most of my life, I'd seen my coaches, my parents, my teachers, they'd put their arms around my brothers and sisters and cousins and say, you know, you're going to do great things with your life. And then they'd put their arm around me and be like, you know, Doc, we just hope you stay out of prison, buddy, you know? And that was it. So it was strange to have somebody encourage me like that and think that I could do better. And so I took a break from school, from bartending, went home. My parents were living in a small mountain town in the mountains of North Carolina. And it was really strange. One night, really late, I was kind of in between sleep and not quite asleep, not quite awake, and I had this phrase over and over in my head. And it was the phrase, wine to water. Wine to water. And I couldn't get it out, so I woke up, grabbed a pad and a pen, and I was thinking, you know, I write a little bit of music too. Maybe this is the inspiration for some, you know, kind of country song. And so I started writing it down. And right when I stared at it on the page, my insides got all knotted up, you know, and I was looking at the words, and, you know, obviously I'd heard it the other way around. My old man was a preacher man growing up, and he told me about the first miracle water to wine, and actually that was my favorite one because it proved that Jesus guy was probably way cooler than what I had thought about growing up. Like, there was a party, it ran out of booze, and he made a bunch of wine so it would continue. And I'm like, man. So I've heard it the other way around, but why is it backwards? And I just kept staring at that last word, water. And I felt like I was supposed to know something. And I probably shouldn't say this to this crowd here, but up until then especially, I was probably the most technologically unsavvy person that you'll ever meet in your entire life. And so I just heard from some friends at school that there was this thing called Google out there that you could go in and type in like questions and information, and it would just spit back answers to you, you know? So I go down and get on my parents' computer, and I type in, you know, water issues. Actually, it's probably more like water issues, water problems, and what filled up that screen was what changed my life. The very first thing I saw was 1.1 billion people with a B don't have access to clean drinking water. I remember staring at that and thinking, you know, that can't be right. I'm not a math major, but I'm pretty sure there's only 6 or 7 billion people in the world. So if over 1 of those billion doesn't have access to clean water, I'm pretty sure that I would have heard about this by now. So I'm pretty sure this Google thing is all jacked up. There's no way that it could be right. But sure enough, one search after another, one UN article after another, over 1 billion people. And then the next article just did it in for me. It was from the WHO, and it said that more children in our world die from dirty water than anything else. And then it listed 3 more. The second one was one that I'd heard plenty about, HIV/AIDS. Some of my favorite musicians, they do the red campaigns, and they wear the ribbons, and I heard plenty about that. The third one was malaria. You know, I learned in school that malaria killed more of our soldiers in Vietnam than bullets. You know, I knew that was pretty bad. And the last one, I didn't know much about it. It was tuberculosis. The third was tuberculosis. And I didn't know much, but there was this game I used to play when I was younger in school that was called Oregon Trail. And you'd try to, you know, get all the way to Oregon with your family. And my wife would always die from tuberculosis. So I don't know what it was, but I knew it was pretty bad. So the next thing I saw, just shocked me. It said, dirty water kills more than all three of those combined together. Yet it receives less than 20% of the funding in the research, while those other three receive over 80%. I just remember staring at that and thinking, that's just not right. And I think that was the very first night that, I always had this voice in my head, I felt like that just said, you're nobody. You're not good enough. Who do you think you are? I think you can do something about this. I think it was the first time I just decided I'm gonna shut that voice off, and I'm gonna try. And so I tried to do one thing. I didn't have the concept to have this great international organization that's in 15 different countries around the world. I just wanted to do one event, raise money for maybe help one family or one village. And so I took that pad, and instead of writing some cheesy country song that would have never done anything anyway, I just jotted out the concept for an event. And I looked at, the resources I had as a bartender, and I thought, I've got plenty of access to booze, which is really important if you're gonna have a successful event. So I can get booze, and I got live music from yours truly right here, so I got some entertainment. I can get a free place from, a local club owner. Within about a month and a half time, this was February 2004, I had put on the very first wine to water event. And by the end of the night, over 300 people had showed up. We raised about $5,000 or $6,000. And I remember counting that money. I'd never seen that much money in one place at one time. And it was the very first time I felt like, it worked. Something I did actually worked. And then that same night, there was a restaurant owner that came and said, hey, that was awesome. Can we do that at my place? And I'm like, sure. So did another event a month later. Another few thousand comes in. I opened a P.O. box, a bank account, and people started sending in checks. And before we knew it, we got to like tens of thousands of dollars in a bank account. And then I started freaking out because I didn't have any charity status or nothing. I may have been doing something illegal. I don't even know. I started taking money, and I'm like, yeah, sweet. So I'm good. I didn't break any laws or anything. But I started looking at, well, how am I going to get this money to these people here? I've never been overseas. And it'd be great to be the guy that gets to go over and drill the well and build the water filter or whatever these people do, but I don't know how to do that work. So I started thinking, the best thing I could do is just take all this money and just give it away to somebody that's already doing great work. So I found a local organization that actually had some great water projects, and I got a meeting with their top guy, got set in his office. He came in and sat down and was very direct and said, what can I help you with? His name is Kenny Isaacs, and I said, when I get nervous, I talk really fast. So I said, Mr. Isaacs, my name's Doc Hendley. I'm a bartender in Raleigh, and I've raised like tens of thousands of dollars, and I just want to give it to you. And he's like, slow down, Doc. You're a bartender in Raleigh, and you've raised a lot of money. And you just come in here, you're ready to give it to me. And you're not skimming off the top, taking any for yourself? No, sir. And you're just going to keep doing this, all volunteer? Yes, sir. He said, well, why? Why would you do that? And I thought for a minute, and I said, I'm not really sure why. I just know that something's changed in me since I've started doing this, and for the first time in my life, I feel like I have the ability to accomplish something, but not for myself, to change the world around me and to help somebody else out. So if it's okay, I'm just going to keep doing this and keep giving you the money. And he said, I tell you what, I got a better idea. How about you come work for me? You're getting ready to finish school. I'll send you anywhere in the world you want to go. I'll teach and train you how to do this work. And then you can come back after your time's up and continue to grow this organization, because it seems like you know how to raise the money, and then we'll just give you that field knowledge, and you can put the two together. And so I almost fell out of my chair, of course, and I said, yes, that would be sweet.